anniversary celebration. So there's a photo there.
Is that a photo of Sarkozy saying "op it, ma'am"?
I think it was well chosen, wasn't it?
He's doing that.
It's like, out you go.
Op it, ma'am.
Not welcome.
He's not saying that, is he? Sure.
Now let's have a look at the cartoon, which was a little bit further down on that page. Which the caption to that is "Damned cheek. I know what I'd like to do to the Sarkozys. What about you, Philip?" Now, in fact, if you look very closely, what is Philip is looking at a naked photo of the French First Lady. So very cheeky stuff there in the Daily Mail.
Very cheeky stuff in the Daily Mail. And
yeah,
obviously,
so
the Mail is a very right-wing newspaper and very royalist. So obviously, they'll be claiming credit.
They will indeed.
Making the French government.
It's sort of funny that they're poking funny at Prince Philip despite the royalist slant.
I think there's something in the British sense of humour which pokes fun at a lot of people, and
exactly.
Certainly,
acceptable stuff. Now, let's move on to the Jerusalem Post.
Let's move on.
This is a crazy article by Michael Freund in the Jerusalem Post, and I was looking for stuff on Hillary Clinton's statement that there should be no further settlement building, and I came across this, and he's saying this month marks the anniversary of one of the most brazen acts of military occupation ever to take place in the Mediterranean region. Now, what was he talking about? This guy, he's talking about the French occupation of Corsica. Now, the last time I checked, most Corsicans were pretty happy to be French citizens. So I'm not sure if it's really...
It's a department of France.
It is, and well integrated, and people seem to be happy enough. So he's saying this is because Paris issued a number of sharply worded condemnations of Israel over the occupied territories in recent days. And this guy is saying, well, when it comes to France's own occupied territories, Paris seems to sing a very different tune. So I think that's crazy stuff, really, in the Jerusalem Post.
A little bit thin from the Jerusalem Post, that one, I'd say. I mean, looking at it from the outside completely, I must add.
I think it's a little bit exaggerated. Okay. Now, the Korean press is obviously talking about
one trouble zone to another.
One trouble zone to another one in Korea, and the Korean Times has a discussion of the mounting tensions, of course, between North and South, and the Northern Limit Line, which is the border, the maritime border between the two countries, is seeing a lot of naval activity on both sides after, of course, South Korea said that they might indeed launch a strike. Now, on the front page of Dong-a Ilbo, you have a photo of that maritime border. I think we've seen it in the headlines already. There is a lot of mounting tension, and the Korean press has that. Let's move on to the Champions League and El Mundo.
Was there a football match last night, James?
I think there was. We have it low enough on the item in this international press review, but there was indeed a big football match.
Yeah, it was a great game, wasn't it? Cracking match.
Barça es el más grande, says
I like your accent, James.
Well,
very good.
I did work in it a little bit, I have to say. Barcelona is the greatest. That's obviously the headline there in that Spanish daily. Moving to the Manchester Evening News, quite a different...
Math que un club, I think they say.
Math?
More than a club.
More than a club.
That's what they say. It's
well translated.
It's an institution.
Yeah, it's
That's in yesterday at a cracking game, that guy holding the cup there, you see his back there.
So
Manchester Evening News?
Well, they obviously are focusing on the
paper
the Manchester
I used to
fans.
read when I was based in Manchester.
Well, there you go. And they're saying that, of course, the Red Devil fans are heartbroken in Rome.
They look gutted, don't they?
They do indeed. Could we very quickly talk about this very sad story, actually, in Russia? A 5-year-old girl who is thought to have been raised by cats and dogs, was rescued by authorities in a regional part of Russia in the last day or two. The neighbours apparently alerted the police to the fact that there was, I suppose, odd stuff going on.
The girl can barely speak.
She can barely speak, but barks and hisses at people in apparent imitation of the cats and dogs she was sort of locked away with in this bedroom of the apartment. Well, and she laps up her food from a plate, so she was clearly neglected, you know.
If that's a joke story, well, it's sick. If it's a real story, then it's even more sick, isn't it? And where are the parents? Tell me they're in jail.
Well, I don't think they're in jail yet, but they were neglecting the child. That seems to be pretty clear, and the authorities, luckily enough, are looking into it.
That is absolutely shocking. Yeah. James, the press review, though, was very good. Thank you very much. The shocking was for the story, not for the press review. You were grand. Thank you very much, sir. James Creedon will be back, of course, with his double-headed appearances tomorrow.